Arsenal, it was a really good win against Sunderland on Saturday. How pleasing was it for you to be able to make 5 changes to your side and still continue to build that momentum into team building?
The consistency of our results is very important, and therefore it was of course important to win on Saturday and not to break that belief, and as well for me to see some players who have played less and to be down 1-0 and respond in the way we did and have an outstanding second half was all very positive basis to prepare for our next game at Liverpool.
At this time of year, with so many games coming so thick and fast, how important is it to have that momentum at this time?
The momentum creates confidence, and confidence is of course vital at that level, and overall in December and now in January we have been consistent, and that's of course we go into a very important part of the season because we play many big games, and that consistency is a good basis to go into the next game with the right belief.
In terms of the team news ahead of the Liverpool game, can you give us any updates at all?
Look, we should have Özil Flamini available. We should have to test certainly Ospina, who was not available on Saturday, and Sanchez. I think Liverpool game will come too soon for him. He has a chance to be available for Sunday against Stoke. He's developed going very well. We have Rosicky back in full training, so overall situation is getting better.
Has Alexis knocked on your door?
He is always keen to play, of course, but if you listen to Alexis, he can always play, even when he's injured.
Have you tried hard not to repeat what happened before, where it was perceived that he came back too early, even though you stressed that he wasn't?
Yeah, we try to be cautious, but with a muscular injury, you never know exactly, how big the risk is. But what is for sure, he's very close. He's if you look at him training, he's very, very close.
What are we waiting for with Mohamed El-Neni, and do you expect movement at the start of this week on that?
I expect movement, yes. I think this week we are positive that this week it can happen, and the situation should be sorted out this week, because there's a lot of work permit problems as well, and special paperwork to do, so visa. So we hope we can finalise it this week.
But you've been assured by the sort of people who look after the legal side of things and all that there's no chance that it won't go through?
Look, as long as it's not definitely signed, you have to be cautious, but I'm optimistic about the case.
In terms of Nacho Monreal, it came out that he was close to signing a new contract over the course of the weekend. Is that accurate? And what have you seen in him that has led to him becoming effectively your first choice left back this season?
Look, the regularity of his performances, the fact that he has improved every year since he has arrived, and is not necessarily my first choice left back. At the moment he plays more than Kieran Gibbs, but I think I'm a bit spoiled there, because Gibbs has come back, he has shown again on Saturday to a very, very strong level. That makes my decisions at that level very difficult, but overall Nacho Monreal has been absolutely outstanding.
The policy, of course, is not to give long-term deals to players over 30. I think Nacho turns 30 next month, so was he very keen to get this done quickly?
Well, yes, certainly. Certainly.
In terms of the January window, we have seen big deals in previous windows. We've seen £50 million signings from Fernando Torres. Mata went for 37 million in a January window. Speaking to agents, speaking to players, speaking to chairman, how do you see the landscape generally for clubs in this country?
In January?
For this month specifically, yeah.
I would say for the media you could have some good news this January transfer window, because I believe many clubs will be active. You go from clubs who are down in the table like Villa, they have to do something, to the clubs at the top as well. I'm sure many of them will be very active. It could be my prediction that it could be one of the most active transfer windows in January that you have seen.
And do you think that stems from the financial power that English clubs have?
First of all, down to that, maybe as well to the anticipation that the inflation could exist after the season in England, and that the anticipation to do business now could be important.
A couple of other things. In terms of Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp, what differences do you see in Klopp's Liverpool to the Liverpool of his predecessor? Have they changed?
Well, I don't want to speak too much about that. I think we face a team every time we go to Anfield, a team who is up for it, and it's always a ferocious battle, no matter who is the manager. But they had a very strong manager before. They have a very strong one now, and Klopp has the personality to do well there.
It was suggested recently with the injuries that they're picking up that it could be down to his style of football. You have a deep knowledge of the sports science behind the injuries. Do you think that the intensity about his game leans towards extra pressure on players, and is there anything in that, do you feel?
No, I don't think you can explain the injuries of the players by the intensity of the game. First of all, it's difficult for me to assess the situation because I don't know exactly what's happening, and every injury can as well be an individual case sometimes, and you have been confronted with that as well, and sometimes you hit at the moment without doing much different from before, and you don't know really why.
Quick thought on the Ballon d'Or. Who do you think should win it? And I know you're not a massive fan of individual honours.
I'm a big enemy of the Ballon d'Or, and who will win it, you know as well than I do that it's certainly Messi who will win it, and I think so, but overall I'm not a big fan of that, no.
If you could put that aside, do you think it's deserving for Lionel if he picks it up tonight?
Yes, because there was no national team competition in 2015, and the team who won absolutely everything is Barcelona, so it has to be a Barcelona player. When you pick a Barcelona player, it has to be certainly Messi, but the only thing you can say is that Neymar is starting to show that will be a competitor for him.
And a pop culture question to end on for me, if I may. People of a certain age and generation are waking up to sad news today with David Bowie passing away. You will have been aware and around his music for many, many years. He's been described as an innovator and a visionary, as have you. Are you a fan of his music and saddened by the loss?
Yes, I'm a fan of his music, of course, but I'm not a specialist enough to assess his musical quality. But I must say the message he gave to my generation was very important, because it was basically after Second World War, and it was basically what I keep from his message, philosophical message: be strong enough to be yourself, you know, and that is a very strong message. That was very important for my generation.
Thank you.
Arsene Benakovic has made a big move to Bournemouth. Of course, he was one of your players in the academy. How would you rate him, and how well do you think he's going to do?
Look, I don't know how well he's going to do at Bournemouth, but he has the qualities to integrate the team like Bournemouth, whose game is based on movement, pace, and quick football, and I think he has the qualities to do that. I must say I'm very happy for Benik, because he had an outstanding attitude here, and I'm very pleased that he has done well. It's a good opportunity for him, and I hope he will be successful there. But sometimes you have to let people go. They're not completely ready for us, and knowing that they could be successful. And honestly, when they are like Benik is, I'm very happy, because we have contributed to his success, and I hope that he will have a long, good career.
Arsene, you said a lot of clubs would be active in the market this month. Is part of that down to just how wide open the Premier League is and the sense of opportunity?
Yes, of course. At the bottom and at the top, everybody thinks if the responsibility to do something, because we have a chance if we do improve our squad. And at the bottom, especially with the new TV deal coming in, the teams who fear to go down will be under pressure not to just accept the situation.
Could it make the difference, a good window this month, at the top and the bottom?
Of course, it can make a difference sometimes. We have seen in the past that teams who responded well in January were successful. Sometimes, you know, I remember a time when I arrived where you could buy the whole season until April. And so that was very interesting as well, and you had not that concentration of transfer activity in a short period. I think it was better before.
Mm. Just on Jurgen Klopp, a lot's made of his high pressing style. What challenge does that pose for your team on Wednesday?
Well, to play our game at a good pace, you know, we are used to that pressing. It's not only Liverpool who does that. Everybody in the modern game, and I think pressing has been created in England, basically, because there is a history of teams who have done that very well in the history of the club, of all the clubs. So it's part of a modern game as well to make quick decisions, be very short with your first touch, and play your game.
Jurgen Klopp's been critical of the fact that we don't have a winter break in England and seems to be adjusting to the number of matches. Do you see in him...
Well, I must say, you get that from everybody who comes to England at the start, because you have to adapt to the English style. I was like that, and I'm still in favour of a winter break, but without losing the traditions of English football. That is play over Christmas and maybe have a break in January. But I believe as well that we go a little bit overboard, maybe, because today the English clubs are in a financial situation to have a squad of 25 top level players. It's not like it was 20 years ago, you know, so we cannot always complain that we play too much, because we have players who can rotate. We have players who want to play. In every club now, when I look at the bench, I'm quite impressed with the players who are there and can play. So I don't believe that it's not anymore like we have 13 players who play every single game.
Which is very different to how it was, say, 10, 15 years ago.
Exactly.
Also, just going back to Benik Afobe's deal, are you surprised how much Bournemouth have paid for Benik, or is that just what happens these days?
No, I believe it's a normal price for a player who wants to play in the Premier League as a striker. £10 million is not excessive. He has scored the goals in the lower league, and the risk is not massive, considering that Bournemouth will take advantage as well of the extra money that will come in at the end of the season.
Is that what it is all about for those clubs? You mentioned those clubs down there.
Sorry?
You mentioned those clubs that are down there in January going into the market.
I think everybody will go on the market.
And they can spend more because it's all about staying up for them for that extra money now, isn't it?
Exactly.
And then just another one. I know Andy mentioned the Ballon d'Or and you're not a fan, but if he keeps going the way he's going for the next 12 months, could we see Mesut Ozil maybe on that stage next year?
Look, I wish, but as I told you, I'm not a big fan of that. I think what is important, we are in a team sport, and it looks a little bit not logical to me to encourage just individual effort. We live already in a society where it's all about individualism, and coming from a team sport going to that as well is to me a little bit contradictory to what is the root of our sport.